Strap yourself in,
because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester LTIDtv on YouTube and your favourite podcasts. Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
And now, here's your host.
right, Chris?
All right, chunkies, how the devil are we all? It's back. But is it the same old Leicester?
The Premier League is back, and we've got it all covered here on Leicester Till I Die TV. Subscribe.
It was all going so well. 1-0 up at half-time. Got a second at the brilliant timing just after the break kicked off. I missed it because I'd lost my link. And then we let them back in.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no.
Oh, yes. Yes. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. That first half, I thought, this is the old Leicester. And then it all went tits up. When is in, how the devil are you? Welcome along, sir. Lee is in. Good evening, Lee. How are you, sir? He said it's definitely the real one, mate. I think Rennie was asking if you were real or fake. He is real, believe me, he is real. Feels like we lost. Still can't understand why he took KDH off. You and me both, mate. You and me both. And I have a feeling Brad might have something to say about it as well. Doug's in. Good evening, Doug. How are you? Welcome along, sir. If I'll post a pic on Twitter screen watching Leicester Till I Die. Things you've got to do, Lee. Things you've got to do. David, welcome along. We looked so good in the first half. Poor mentality and lack of quality subs in the second half. 5 subs, we used 1. Seriously? David, this was one game where I felt we would definitely let our opponent back into it. Brentford didn't really turn it on, in my opinion, although they did improve, but they didn't have us on back foot. We self-destructed. Fair comment, Brad? Self-destructed?
Newcastle away, the Everton game, Tottenham Hotspur at home. That second half summed up last season. First half was fun. First half was actually decent, but when is Brendan Rodgers going to get it through his skull that we cannot defend as a complete unit as a team? Because every time we've tried it, and I'll answer the questions that we were asked in the chat for you, Chris. The reason he took off KDH was because we were 2-1 up. If we was 2-0 up, he would have taken Vardy off and he'd have put Daka on and he'd have kept it as it was. The second they got back into it, he did exactly what he's done in every scenario since the start of last season, and that is he went defensive. He went a flat back line of 5, followed by a front line of 3 in front of that, with the closest secondary striker playing that holding role in front of that, and then Vardy on his own. And it's cost us so many points last season, and he's still not learned. And that's what cost us the game.
Just to show, no, not a problem, Lee, not a problem. You've made me feel I've not eaten all day. I am absolutely starving. Just for Renee, there you can see it is the real one himself. I mean, it's almost like you're surprised that we talk to each other. We do, Lee, mate. I tell you what, no, I am so deflated. The only thing that's keeping me going is that we're not Man United.
Well, yeah, you know, with every bad thing, there's always a positive, isn't there? You know,
There is. And at half time, I was absolutely ecstatic because Man United and Nottingham Forest were in the bottom three. But, you know, I'll end the day with Forest being in the bottom three. And yeah, quite happy there. Quite happy. So, Brad, I mean, let's look at the game. I mean, 2-2. I think we both think, you know, I asked, was it 2 points lost or 1 point held on to at the end? Lee says here, so annoying. And it was. Vardy had no input except for the assist. Yet Brendan took KDH off for Daka. I mean,
because he wanted to go defensive. He wanted to play one up front.
But then, if he wants to go defensive, why bring Daka on?
Because he wants to exploit Daka's pace as a run-on mechanism, not a sprint onto a loose ball like Vardy does. He wants to play Daka as a flipping greyhound. As soon as we overturn that ball, you bolt like a greyhound out the traps. We'll knock the ball long. We know Vardy can flick it into an open area. You run into it. That's exactly what they tried to do. It failed for the majority of the time miserably. And again, mate, this is a game that we should have won but could have lost and somehow got away with a draw. And as confusing as that sentence may be, if you slow it down and say it again, it actually probably sums up this game perfectly for how it went. Because
I know what you're saying. I mean, Lee Chappie says there, take off the hot and soul out of the midfield. He was having a good game, a wondrous goal. I mean, we've got some hard games coming up. We've got Arsenal, and whatever we joke about Arsenal, that's going to be a hard game. We've got Chelsea. We have got Man United, but you know we know they're always a sort of hard game. I just think it's the first game. It's the first game. Liverpool a draw against Fulham. You know well, look at the prediction league, mate. We were miles off with that one, weren't we?
Well, yeah.
It is the first game. Let's be honest with you, had we come off here being 2-1, we would quite easily have, been praising Rodgers and saying, yep, the old Leicester is back. But in the end, we were actually lucky to only be letting two in, thanks to VAR.
Well, yeah, but you shouldn't be saying that at 2-0 up, mate. You should never go to a game and be 2-0 up in the closing half hour of the game and come away saying we're lucky we got away with a point. It just shouldn't happen. No disrespect to them, but it shouldn't happen to pretty much. In fact, it shouldn't happen to anyone in the Premier League. Probably barring Man City on their if they're on form like they have been. Maybe Liverpool at most, but anyone else, if you're turning up with less than half hours to go, you should be holding out.
Yeah, I mean, Manchester City at the moment are 2-0 up against West Ham. Spencer said the point there, why only make one sub if you can make 5?
Barely made 3 when he had the opportunity to at some point. See, it wasn't going to impact Brendan. I still think there's a lot of players there that he's keeping because, and they're not because he wants to, it's because, right, we can't get rid of him, we might as well give him a chance. I feel like sometimes Brendan does things begrudgingly. And I don't think all the times he's 100% honest with some of the players there, because I don't understand how you can go from trying desperately to negotiate a sale to now the word is that Pratt's happy to stay and fight for the place at Leicester. No smoke about fire with either story in a sense, just because one's positive and one's negative in the sense that we want to get rid of him. But I don't know. It's the first game, but I would be more comfortable in a weird way, the scoreline being 2-2, had Brentford done something to really initiate the changing of the game, because they really didn't. Even at 2-1, they really didn't press that well. We just went to that defensive sit back, like scared little rabbits in the headlight, deer in the headlights, and allow them the space. You saw at that last second, it was almost like indeed he'd had enough that he charged out way too late for him to curl it in. And it actually probably ruined, and I'll be really annoyed if people start coming in here saying, oh, if so and so, if Ward wasn't, well, this is why we need to get a keeper. Ward had a great game. He was commanding, he got the ball, he collected it well, he just did it. There was nothing he could do pretty much either from where I'm standing. And you know my stance on goalkeepers.
Ward, to be honest with you, a clean sheet would have been good for him, for his confidence. He had very little to do in the first half, let's be honest with you. The first goal, he was let down by his defence. And we're going to go through the team in a second. But no, you cannot blame Ward for those at all. Spencer says it's 27 degrees. He should have made like-for-like changes like Brentford did. I'm going to take Lee. Lee, how the devil are you, sir? It's been a long time. Wondered what had happened to you. Has Emma been kept you locked in the cellar again, has she? Oh, you know what she's like. You know what she's like. You just thought it was handcuffs. I said, let's just take some positives. Come on, first game. KDH shouldn't have come off. Grow your beard back. I mean, yes, I think it is the first game. I mean, people that come and say, well, Rodgers out. It's game one. There's 37 to go. As everybody says, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Let's take some positives. That first half was Leicester of old, as in pre-last season. Yep.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I actually think the Leicester of old for the last 3 or 4 seasons has been the defensive side of Leicester, the slow sideways passing. I think this was almost the first half was almost a revamped version of that. I don't know if it was even exactly the Leicester of old, to be honest with you.
I mean, when I say Leicester of old, I mean last season we never saw that first half performance last season, apart from the last 3 or 4 games. We were on front foot. We had them worried. We had a lot more possession. We had 3 or 4 times more shots than they did. But the second half, as a definitely game of 2 halves, this was, because the second half, it all went to pot and we let them get a foothold. I mean, what a perfect start to the second half with that goal. A lot of people weren't even sat down. I'd lost my stream and I couldn't get it back up in time. I didn't see the goal until they showed it again later. But brilliant effort from KDH and off the post. But we are, like I say, let's shut that aeroplane door and not get ready to jump maybe just yet, You see, David says here, I'd have been okay if we drew 2-2 and looked semi-ordinary and not at it. Then its use of first game of the season would apply to be so in control. 55 to 60 minutes. Make 1 sub, sorry, poor management for me. The second half, I would totally agree with you. But the first half, that team, we're going to have a look at the team now, but that team I thought was a good team to start. A few more comments before we do that. Only positive outside of KDH. Ward looked very composed in goal, and we didn't concede for many set pieces. Other than that, Castagna was good. Madders wasn't at it for me. Indeed, he was at best 40%. Madders' passes were just overcooked most of the time, even if close to being perfect. He never got going for me. Well, let's have a look at the team here, Brad. Looking at that team, when I saw it up front, we now know obviously who the number 1 goalkeeper is going to be going into the season. I hope Everson gets some game time in the cups. I think Ward has earned his chance. He was a £12 million player. Why go out and buy another goalkeeper and waste money on that, which we haven't got apparently, when we got Ward sat there? To be honest with you, I don't think we particularly missed Casper today. And I love him to bits. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love him to bits for what he's done. But I think it was just time for a change.
Yeah, it was going to happen sooner rather than later. I remember when we did the show, I was more thinking next year, but it is what it is. And at the end of the day, we pay 12 million for him. And very rarely do you hear people criticising when he seems to play. I mean, some people say that, the Forest game, but the whole team was a shambles that game. We excuse anybody. Well, we don't excuse them, but I'm not going to lay the blame at the goalkeeper for conceding 4 when the team in front of you is a shambles. So it's good to see. I think we're going to get to an interesting area in the next couple of spots, but I'll leave that be. But yeah, the team was given on paper what you could see in front of you, and every player that's available. That was the lineup you were probably expecting.
Yeah. We haven't got Ricardo in there. It was a back 3. Obviously, when you were going forward, a back 5 defending, but Amati, Evans, and Fofana. Now, a lot of people jumping on Amati's back. I mean, how quickly we changed. Last season, he was probably the best defender, and he was the only defender that we had fit for most of the season. We said, didn't we, how things have changed, because the season before we wouldn't have done, but last season he was probably one of the first names on the sheet. But does he work better in the back 4 than a back 3?
I think he can, but I don't think he can work alongside Wesley Fofana. I think he needs to, if he's in a back 3, you need Johnny Evans in there. And I'll explain that more why when it comes to the second bit. But if he's in a back 2, it has to be Evans that's fit. And that's why I think it was interesting to see him today, because it's a question that kind of got mentioned once or twice, but never really talked about. And that was if Leicester did play a 3 at the back, because we just assumed go back to Fofana and Evans being the front 2. No one considered a 3. Who will it be? Will it be Amati or Soyuncu who was given the nod? And we're seeing that clearly Brandon is appreciative of everything and the effort that was given by Amati last season.
Yeah.
When he needed to fill in, and he deservedly started. And to be honest with you, people might bemoan him a little bit into spring, especially Tony's goal. But in reality, he was also only following orders like the rest of the team was for the way they were playing that second half. I think he did all right. I don't think that, up until that goal, I don't remember Ward having too much notable to do apart from a few grabs.
I think in the first half, he was take his picnic on, to be honest with you, but it did raise a few eyebrows in the watch along that we did earlier when Amati was ahead of Soyuncu. But we don't know all these rumours that are flying about who might be going, etc. We don't know what's happening off the pitch. But Justin and Castagna were the wing backs, making the 5 at the back, defending 3 going forward. I thought they both had reasonable games, but especially Castagna. And wow, did he take his goal well?
Yeah, he did. It's kind of weird, isn't it? I got so used last season to Leicester's conceding from corners that when we scored from them, I didn't know how to celebrate it.
I know.
Clearly something we've been working on, because we've scored. We actually, since that curse was that, when Fofana returned and scored the goal, it was not too dissimilar, was it? It was a run to that edge of the 6-yard area that we got flick on and went in. So we've scored a couple from that routine. So it's something that's paid off. And, not conceding from one was also nice as well. So, yeah, getting a set-piece goal and not conceding one, there was definitely some positive. And, again, the majority of the match actually, believe it or not, was...
Well, when we scored from a corner, we had our commentator at the match. He just said...
don't believe it.
No, I didn't either.
Well, I definitely did not tweet out that Leicester scored from the corner. It's a miracle and we're going to win the league. I definitely did not tweet that.
Again, 1 or 2 people said about Tielemans being in there. I think if we don't play him, we're cutting off our nose to spite our face, because I said he was our best player. I got shot down because people were saying, no, Vardy's better, Maddison's better, Fofana's better. My argument is, I don't know whether you will agree with me here, is that if we don't get a decent offer by Arsenal, who apparently still haven't put an offer in yet, before a certain time when we probably can't get a chance to replace him, do we hold on to him, even if he doesn't sign a new contract? Because I believe he can be the difference between us finishing, say, 7th and 8th and getting European or not. And if we get some form of European football, that will almost compensate for us not getting a penny for him in the transfer market.
yeah, hindsight's a big business thing to have.
You're breaking up, Brad. Sorry.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was saying hindsight would be a wonderful thing to have right now because hindsight's the only way that Leicester are going to be able to see it. Because
Yeah.
I mean, for all the talk of all these players that the Newcastle keep bidding for, chucking them, money around like it's a monopoly, and they've got all the cash from the bank. But none of them players seem to put in a performance that said, "I don't really want to be here."
No.
So we always say with transfer rumour stories that there's no smoke without fire, and I like to say that works both ways because for all the talk that these players seem to go out in their press conferences and whatnot and say how they're happy to be, even we've seen reports saying they're happy to be at Leicester and whatnot. You didn't see anything that was untoward that to suggest it wasn't like that. And
yeah,
at the end of the day, again, like you said, mate, you don't want to bite your nose, spite your face just because it's not logical. It doesn't work out
No, it doesn't at all. If we lose him, we're going to lose him. But let's play him while we've got him. I mean, I saw two things that stuck out in my mind was Maddison when he walked on the pitch and had his hands up applauding the fans, and I don't think it was a goodbye gesture. I think it was a sort of pleased to see you again gesture. I don't think he's going to go to Newcastle. I think he will use that in his favour to sign a better contract from us. And Tielemans' face, because Tielemans hit the post with an effort. His face when that didn't go in. I'm sorry, that is not a man. That is not a man that doesn't want to be here. He's playing his football. He's not going to do it. Kanté, as much as I love these players, couldn't wait to get off. He couldn't wait to leave. He hadn't even sort of collected his stuff from the locker at the end of the season, and he was on his way to Chelsea. Mahrez, went on strike, threw his toys out the pram, and it said he had a mental health problem because we wouldn't let him go. Bollocks. He sat on the Charles de Gaulle airport waiting for his manager to ring him and tell him which flight to get on to when he knew had signed him. So I honestly think Tielemans, whilst he's here, in whichever form that is, whether it's signing another 1-year extension so that we can at least get something, or playing his contract down, I do not see him not giving 100%.
Well, that's what you'd like to think, wouldn't you? You'd definitely like to think that. You'd like to say that's how it's going to go, and if it does go like that, then yeah, of course, it's almost like when you get a gesture of goodwill paid.
Yeah,
it almost feels a little bit like that in a weird sort of way because it's like, well, I'll leave you with this sort of thing, and it's like, all right, we don't get nothing for you, but we get some European football next season. All right, mate,
yeah.
that's fine. If you're happy to do that, you can discuss your future after the season. You'll be a free agent, and we'll see. And we've said it for about 2 years, Chris. Enjoy him while he's here.
Yeah,
if he lines up next week in the Leicester shirt, brilliant, great. Especially if he's allowed to play like he was in the first half, and the whole team is, then brilliant, great. We'll definitely win a lot more than we'll lose. And
I think had he been able to play his normal role last season, he'd have had a lot more suitors knocking on the door for him. But because he was having to play more defensive, I do think people might be backed off thinking, we don't know, like you say. Rennie says, why can't we play Pratt for Yuri? I don't think it's a straight swap, is he?
Well, actually, I think he is. And I think that's why Pratt shoved out the sidelines. Pratt predominantly, to my memory, was picking up the right side of that midfield, which is where you normally see Yuri operating between the middle and that. I think they shared similar roles, and Brendan was never shy of the fact that he liked what he saw from some of the reserve players when he first got here, and I think he's always been an admirer of the midfield area in terms of KDH. So if anyone was going to naturally go into that role, it probably is Pratt, and that's probably the only reason he said, "Look, I need you to stay." Is if Tielemans goes, you're in, and you look at the Casper situation. If you look at that, maybe Pratt's looked at that situation, had the same conversation with Ward, going, look, if I say to Michael, you're going to be the number one, I am going to trust you with it. And Pratt's gone, right, what's the situation? And he's gone, well, you said you wanted to go, so we're still trying to sell you. But if Tielemans goes, I do want to put you in place. It's the only reason I can see any sort of fathom an idea why Dennis Pratt suddenly come out.
But it's great news. It's almost like a new signing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Indeed, we had in the Dewsbury Hall, we had in the centre. I know we're going to be coming on to some of these when you do your tactics later. Ndidi, it's good to have him back. Was he probably just a little bit ring rusty?
He probably was, to be fair. I was surprised that Mendy wasn't given that, especially given the fact that we went to a formation that we used to go to because silly us, we thought it was because Mendy didn't trust us. It's because Brendan doesn't trust the whole team to play a way that's not conceded them any goals. I'm still trying to figure it out. Sorry, Chris. I'm still trying to process why you... But anyway, I digress. I mean, he should have came on. I did notice, and I will talk about it a bit more in the game. I also noticed something that Brendan was quite fond of seemed to happen with Ndidi in that first half that I did really like. And I'll talk about it more in depth, but it's something that has the potential that, if noticed it, could be more of a key to the success of Leicester this season.
Yeah. Vardy, very quiet. Again, though, if he's not getting the service, he can't put the goals in. But he's on the pitch. He's keeping their defence busy. They've always got to watch him. Daka, what did he do when he came on? I just don't understand that substitution at all. But B. Crom says here, we are like a ship sailing on the open sea with no navigational compass. I'm officially Rodgers out. I just think and B. Crom, you're entitled to your opinion. I've put your opinion up. I'm not going to say that you were wrong. All I'm saying is 90 minutes into the season, can we really judge a manager on that 90 minutes? And okay, I get what people are saying. Well, we're actually not judging him on 90 minutes. We're judging him on last season plus 90 minutes. But this season is different. Can't compare, because last season we had nobody, we had so many injuries. Well, it was ridiculous. And where this season, do you remember the first game last season, Brad? Do you remember what the score was?
I only just remember that.
I'll
game.
tell you. It was a rhetorical question.
It was 1-0 against Wolves. Jeez.
It was 1-0 against Wolves, yeah. And I wasn't trying to catch you out. It was a rhetorical question. That was an awful game. Had Wolves had their shooting boots on, we would have lost that game. Rennie's talking about if Rodgers gets sacked, do we get Roberto Martinez? What makes you think he'd want to come, Rennie? What makes he's managing Belgium? This is a national side. He's done a lot better there than he has in a lot of his recent jobs. No, he hasn't won anything, but he's actually moved Belgium forward. Who's to say that he'd actually want to come to Leicester? All these times we've said in the past, let's get in Mancini, let's get in Ancelotti. Ancelotti never wanted to come to Leicester. He'd sooner go to Everton than come to Leicester. Whether we ever approached him or not, I do not know. We can't say we're Leicester. We're not Man United. We're not Man City. So, and you're saying here, Belgium with Dennis and Castagna, that is not going to get him to a club. Come on. Come on. I've never heard it's so ridiculous in my life. Is that a manager of an international team is going to come to Leicester because we've got a couple of our players. Dennis may go. We don't know at the moment. But I just think we're all just jumping on this thing. It's 90 minutes. Let's say we go off now on a 20-match unbeaten run, and we're sat in second. Will you still be going, but remember the second half against Brentford? Let's get Rodgers out. let's be sensible. Let's not be bloody stupid. Let's see where we go. This is the match, and let's look at this match and dissect this match, which Brad is going to do in a second. But it is 90 minutes. Rodgers is the best in the Premier League in injuring players. Ranieri kept his players healthy. Ranieri did not have Europe to contend with Bicrom. He only had the Premier League to worry about. I think we got knocked out of the 2 cups very early under Ranieri, so he was basically playing just Premier League games. So I don't think you can. I don't think you can actually compare the two at all. And let's be honest with you, Ranieri. He was shit at picking players, wasn't he? How many players that Ranieri bought after in the Premier League are still at the club? I don't think any, are they?
I don't think so.
No. So, if we're comparing Ranieri and Rodgers, Ranieri and Rodgers, compares the other way as well.
Isn't Amati is Daniel Amati?
He may well be. He may well be. I agree with you, Chris, says David, but today was one of the few times when I really questioned his explanation of KDH, but makes no sense. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. You know what I've criticised, remember the Bell End show? Remember that? I criticise him if he makes bad decisions. If he'd made that decision and Daka had come on and scored, would we not be sat here saying the sun shines out of Brendan's arse and what a good tactician he is?
Yeah, because we'd gone on to win the game. Daka had scored and won the game. We'd have been talking about a good performance.
What a great substitution that was. Yeah, no, fantastic. So,
we'd have said that it paid off. We wouldn't have understood it, but we've been saying that the majority of his reign. But I think what was getting to fans...
right in top 4. It's one game. Back in the day, everybody's probably a little bit too young, and you are as well, Brad, I'm sure. In the old days, we never even used to see a table for about the first 10 games because it meant sweet FA. So I'm not even looking I've not quoted the table. I'm not looking. I had a bit of a joke about it during the match. And I think I joked about it last night when Arsenal were top. I said that means they're going to bring out a best of the season DVD already. Hi, Chris, just got here. I assume as Rodgers out, him was being heard after just one game. Certainly is, Terry. Certainly is. Facebook user, not sure who you are. Not saying Rodgers out yet, but he's still making the same bad decisions. Bad. Yep. I mean, that's a fair point. But then he made certain decisions that won us the FA Cup. So I don't, it's all relevant. Bicrom, in sports, you attack the weak link. The manager of Brentford told the team to attack Amati. Game over. Both goals were his fault. Okay. And then how many times did we blame Soyuncu last season? As Terry says there, oh, look, Liverpool drew 2-2. Klopp out. 100%, Terry. 100%. Before we go on to your section, Brad, and we'll do this in a minute, so get yourself ready. I think that this season is going to be a very interesting one when it comes to sacking managers, because I think we've got the World. Well, we don't. I don't think we have got the World Cup slap bang in the middle of the season. So when that kicks off mid-November, I think a lot of clubs will look at where they are and their managers and what sort of season they've had. And there, I think, that is when we will see a lot of managers, if they're going to go. Because I think you've got 4 weeks then to get a replacement in and get them seeing what the players that they've still got that aren't away are like. And obviously in time then for the January transfer window. So I think that's the time when we'll be looking at it. Not after one game and saying he should go. Let's sack Ten Hag. Let's sack Ten Hag because he's bottom. Let's sack Gerrard because they haven't got a point yet. Like Terry said, at Liverpool, let's sack Klopp.
Yeah,
sorry, carry on, Brad.
No, sorry, I was just going to say, I'm completely with you on saying Rodgers outcries after the first game is very drastic, to say the least. But to a degree, I can understand the frustrations that people have, because we're not talking about new mistakes. We're not talking about a Brentford that changed the formation, changed the way they had, and made it hard to deal with. Brentford really trying to get, we're not condoning a loss and saying, well, you can't do nothing when the opponents do that to you in the second half. I think a lot of frustration that's leaked into it is that, and I think minus the Brendan out part, I think there is a lot of stance behind that. It's the same old mistakes that have cost us.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Like I say, I have called out Brendan and his substitutes in the past. Like I say, in that very famous show. Rennie says here, okay, Chris, what's going to happen when we play Arsenal? I don't know. I haven't got a crystal ball, Rennie. We might beat them 3-0. Who knows? You tell me. Do you know what the score is going to be? Do you know what team Brendan's going to put out? You may look at that and think, yeah, and Marty, we need to bring Soyuncu back. I'll rub my crystal ball afterward and see if we can see if I can find out what's going to happen. Rennie, why can't Rodgers change formation in the second half? Well, he actually did when he brought Daka on, so he actually did there. Quickly, man of the match, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, chosen by Alan Bennett. I don't think there'll be many people argue with that. And he was man of the match on the BBC one as well.
Yeah, I think it's more than a fair shout. Got his season up and running. He'll be very happy with that. It was a great strike. And, one thing I'm glad we've repeated from last season is, yet again, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall feeling right at home as in a Leicester shirt and in the Premier League. Looks cut for the rest. And yeah,
definitely. Terry says, my only criticism, if I hear, we will learn from it one more time and we'll scream. Look, this is managers for you. They, how many times did we hear Steve Bruce come out and say, we're going to learn from it. We're going to do next week. We're not going to make the same mistakes next week. When managers in trouble, that's what they do. I don't know what we expect them to say. David, I'm also upset that we lost both Barnes and Pereira for this because of pre-season. No signings, and again, injuries costing us to change formation. Mind you, when Barnes was out before we played Vardy and Atcher. I don't think you can blame those injuries on Rodgers. Pereira, he was playing well. Did he not score the goal against Seville? Or was that Barnes? I'm not sure. But, he went down. He was on his own. He wasn't being tackled. Even I can't blame the Spanish for that.
I will say this about Pereira as well. He's actually quite injury prone.
Yeah.
This isn't just since the new training ground. He's had lengthy injuries for a good while. It could just be a case if he's going to have an unfortunate stage for his career where he's picking up injuries and they're lengthy ones. So you can't say, blame one of the best top European training facilities in the world for someone having an injury problem. You can't do that when it's someone like that. You get these type of players, and Ricardo, to be fair, seems like one of them.
He does. I mean, occasionally you have a player come along that is a sick note, Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, it was Dewsbury Hall who did score against Seville. Sorry, my mistake. Yeah, occasionally you do get a player that is a bit of a sick note, and you just have to make the most of them when you've got them. Thankfully, we've got Castagna, we've got Luke Thomas who can come through on the left, and then Justin moves over. So we have got cover in that department. And you're not telling me that Castagna isn't a good stand-in, because look at what he did today. But we are now going to be ready for Brad's tactical analysis. He hasn't got his board. A lot of people are hoping you get your board out, most of them being women, so I don't know what that says. But you're going to talk us through the game from a tactical perspective. So, are you ready to go, sir?
I'm going to try, and yeah, I'm as ready as I will be, mate.
Here we go.
Right, so as we've already discussed, the tactic today, this is how Leicester lined up. And this was the aggressive version of the 3-5-1-1. As you can see there, it started off positive, and it's exactly what we saw in the first half. You know, Ndidi anchoring between defence and midfield. The wing backs were attacking from the front foot. You had that go between Dewsbury Hall, Yori, in Madison playing that lovely number 10 role. And things were looking great in the first half. But if Crick goes on to the next slide for us.
And indeed.
We can get the stuff these days. You know, it was Leicester, Jim, but not as we know it. You know, and it was, wasn't it? It was nice. It was a different Leicester of sorts, maybe one of old memories. And we played really well. Yeah, it was still a bit sideways passing, but we were using more of the other whip. We weren't so one-dimensional down that left side. And that triangle of passing was a lot easier to do because we always seem to have in case of emergency player that if the ball pinged off or went astray, was able to pick up the loose ball. And that was the difference between this season and last season. We're going to play spot the difference with you guys now. I believe on the next slide. Spot the difference. This is slide number 8. I'm going to let you take that one in. I'm going to let you absorb all that. So you don't have to really know they're the players. That's the back three. That's the left back and wing backs. You know who they are. And that person in the middle whose name you can't see is good old Wilfred Ndidi. So just take that in as a spot line formation. Remember where they are. Okay, sure. Spot the difference.
Is Ward further forward?
Now, yeah, you see first. If other people said that, if other people sat there thinking, well, Ward's a lot further forward, Brad, you'd be wrong. What it was is it was a complete difference between how Leicester used to play the sideways pace and the patient passing game and how they went about it for at least an hour in today's game. And that was, Wilfred Ndidi is going to be key for Leicester this season. I know that sounds like, okay, that's like saying a duck likes to go on walk, Brad. We know that. But what I mean is he evolved this summer. What we used to seeing, if you remember from Spot the Difference A, was that Wilfred Ndidi would have been in a back three, he'd have made it a back four, and in a back two, he'd have slotted in to make it a back three. He was that deep. He was essentially playing centre back. But in this half, especially in the first half, he reminded me a little bit of Kante in the fact that he would get the ball further up in the field in this scenario, and he would go forward with it. And it allowed the attack front line to become a 5 because he'd have the width of Castagne available to him, he'd have the width of Justin available to him, and he's got either a direct pass to Madison or an escape in case of emergency pass, probably a bit shorter and closer to him with Dewsbury Hall, or vice versa, depending on which side he wants to break away with. And that meant that Leicester could get in behind a very stubborn and deep Brentford defence. So we saw what was like last season in slide A, and this is what we start with slide B. And as we'll go on to another slide here, which isn't slide C, but it is the second half. And it's to analyse exactly what happened. And that was, unfortunately, old Leicester reared its ugly head again. And how it did that with what we'll see here, yeah, like an old friend that you'd love to see. Yeah, it was Ivan Toney caused panic at Leicester's regressed back to a complete mess of a defensive team. For the love of God, Brendan, we are not a defensive team. We figured it out. We cannot play this 11. Stop playing it. That was my mini meltdown. Back to the tactics. As you can see here, the second Brentford got that goal, this is how Leicester went about their business. And this is why Leicester only made one choice, because Leicester played a back 5 with a back 3 in front of them, and then they had a hit and hope in Daka, or a really long hit and hope if they were in trouble to hit Vardy. That was their job. And I don't understand why he took KDH off. I can't explain that. I'm not a mind reader. But this is exactly how it lined up, so I have to put Daka in there for accuracy. And this is where the mess is caused. Because when Leicester were further forward and they had that 5-yard, 10-yard gain in front and they had a bit more space, the anchor, that is Johnny Evans in that defence, was sat at that point in that emergency defence. Here, He doesn't know whether to go forward and try and force the breakout. He doesn't know whether he's got a command and be the anchor and sit back and allow Farner and Amati to try and break it out. They're going to turn around. They were turning round into Youri Tielemans and James Maddison every time because we were so close to them. We've seen it, and I mentioned the games at the start. The Everton game, the Newcastle away game, the Tottenham home game. We do this every time, and we always come out worse. So this is what I mean by Tony caused panic, because Leicester could not get back into the attacking motions. And when they did, it was still clustered. It was too tight. And players couldn't make the movements or make them in the first half because they didn't just have to go forward. They had to go out, back into their shape. And then the passes were getting messed up. So Leicester never really recovered from that first goal. And that was when it was like being hypnotised, wasn't it? It was like, you know, Darren Brown when you're back in the room, because Leicester became the old Leicester of last season and defended like a crock of shit as a team. And we can defend as defenders, and by that I mean our back five can defend well, but the second we try and get the rest involved, right, they don't like it and they can't do it. So stop it, Brendan. Next slide. I've had my meltdown. I'll finish, Chris.
You want the truth? You want the truth? You can handle the truth!
But yeah, on to the next slide. So the good things, you know, we don't have a bad and an ugly. We don't have an ugly stage because that'd be my one. But the good things was we played that high line that I've just talked to you about. The general first half was actually really good. We noticed with Maddison, Dewsbury Hall for his goal, Youri Tielemans, I think Amati even had a pop at one stage. We showed something that maybe when we were trying to pass it into net, our Arsenal style last season, this first half we showed we're not afraid to shoot. We're not afraid to try and get their numbers up and be up there with the Vardy's, Dackers from the front line. We actually looked good. You know, for what, 58 minutes, we looked like a team that actually put everything behind us and were looking good. And like I said to you, that more advanced and aggressive role from Ndidi, instead of being a ball winner, being a playmaker in that centre of that midfield anchor, him playing between the line of defence and attack is going to be key to Leicester. And I saw that very well and very well done by Ndidi, even if he wasn't 100% fit. Obviously, on to after the good, always comes the bad. And that was the second half. After their goal, granted, I have stated that before the goal, I think was still good. We got the goal from KDH, we looked good. I don't know if I stressed this enough, Chris, but just in case I didn't, I wanted to make sure I didn't know that the inability to defend as a team was a bad thing that we learned from this game. And it also coincidentally leads to Brendan's inability to see the team. Brendan, if I can see it, why can't you, mate? Come on, and you're getting paid. The old Leicester haunts us was what we also saw. And the last thing we unfortunately see is it's going to be another roller coaster of a season. But I ask you, Leicester fans, whether you go and start raving crazy saying Brendan in or Brendan out, would you have Leicester any other way? Maybe a little bit more heart, better bearing for the heart, but no, really, we wouldn't have this Leicester any way, because let's face it, it's how our football is at the end of the day. But there you go, Chris. There was the game summed up for you in two halves.
Watching Leicester Till I Die TV with Chris and Chums. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Pinterest. All you need for everything Leicester City FC. It's Leicester Till I Die TV.
It is, and thank you very, very much, Brad. Succinctly put as always, and it made total sense. And maybe one day if we get some sponsorship, we can get you one of those Sky Sports news desks.
Oh, that'd be brilliant, mate. I'd never leave the thing. I'd be going. I'd be like Oprah Winfrey, but tactics for everybody, tactics for you.
Brew, welcome along. Leicester City can still win the league. Of course we can. Yes, definitely. Well said, that man. Well said, that man. Indeed, Jeff. Good evening. Ndidi was a bit rough on the ball today. Hoping it's not just rust. Sorry. Like the idea of his role though. I think, like I say, he's not played for a long, long time in a competitive match. Jeff, you're new to the channel, I think. Welcome along. Sub and like if you can do. Much appreciated. Dan, you're in London, mate, on your kid's birthday. What the hell are you doing tuning in? But welcome along. Diamond, it wasn't a diamond equaliser. No. No,
we had plenty of time to screw it up, Dan.
Yes, we did. Only the first game, though, so don't worry, fella. I'm not as worried about you as a Burnley fan losing every single member of your team, having to put 5-a-side team out at this point. But no, take what it means. Take it what it means, Dan. Have a great weekend in London with the family, and happy birthday to your son for yesterday.
And Dan, last wishes to you, mate. And also, how was your draw against Luton, mate?
Yes, I know. I've got a soft spot for Luton.
Yeah, I'm interested to know how I did on his predictions now, because I didn't take note of what I said at the time, so I've probably got these all wrong in my head.
Don't ask about our predictions. All right, let's just move that. You know,
Yeah,
Steve's done well, but that's because Steve wasn't there. Yeah. B-Com, if Chowdhury was on that tying shot, would have never gotten off. I would have subbed Mendy and Chowdhury, Maddison, Tielemans. Was Chowdhury on the bench today? Not sure that he was.
So we had Pratt on the bench. I think you had Iverson on the bench. You had Daka on the bench. Ian Show.
I'm just having a look now. No, he wasn't. Mendy was on the bench. Yeah, no, we had no men. Yeah, sorry, Mendy was on the bench, but no Chowdhury. Sorry. And David agreed. Indeed, he was definitely not at his best with passing off. I had to be very careful what you wrote there, David. Apparently, passing off. I just with Brendan saw that, and maybe put in Mendy, who can be more progressive on the ball. You got it. Well, indeed, he's the better stopper, but Mendy's the better distributor of the ball. So you lose one and gain something depending which one you put. Dan said, I'm sat in the Premier Room with views of the London Eye. Oh, that's what I call it when I look down at the big smoke. Tell Kate not to bend over, then you wouldn't see the London Eye, would you?
Oh. All I was going to say is I'm surprised they let Burnley in the Premier in.
I'm gonna follow that with this. Did it work?
It worked.
There we go.
There you go. Just
yeah. Yeah. So Dan now. Samari wasn't in the starting lineup. We are being linked with a swap deal with him for somebody else at Monaco. But I mean, to be honest with you, I'm just so fed up with all the different links. It's getting boring now. You know, everybody's coming on saying we're broke, we can't afford anybody. We're not broke. Yeah, and I'm fed up with saying this, Brad. But we've got the money, but we've got 26 players now because Schmeichel's gone. We've got 26 players that will not fit in to a 25-man Premier League squad.
Mm-hmm.
So why buy players when we've got too many players already? Schmeichel's gone, and good luck to him. He goes with all our best wishes. But we've still got one more than we're allowed. And, you know, why spend? So we do one of two things. We either do a Barcelona. Basically, we go and we buy everybody, but we just can't register them. Now, that is not going to do us very good, A, with FFP, but B, it'll bankrupt the club. Or we do what Leeds did, let's say. They did it well, didn't they? They gambled on getting into Europe and spent a fortune, and they didn't. And look where they ended up. So we're not broke. We've got sensible owners, and as annoying and as disappointing as it is, we've got a lot of players, and you'd agree with me this, Brad, that are on a lot of money that probably aren't worth it, and we're probably not going to be able to get rid of.
I'm just waiting for the clock to finish doing. It's nearly there, and I'll say.
Well, I didn't hear it. I'll carry on talking. And I think
No,
that.
there you go. There you go.
Are you all right? Yeah.
It's chimed in with its opinion. I'm going to chime in with mine. I can make a load of them jokes, but we haven't got the time. The thing is, people are misconstruing Leicester's dire financial situation. No, the owners just don't want to take a loan out to go and give to Brendan to go and spend money on players on the hopes that we bring success. The club is in the situation where they're going, right, you want to go out and improve this squad. And again, you take into all the factors. We've got a 26-man squad that we only need 25 for. We've got a very good squad. You know, and realistically, Leicester can ill afford to get rid of Telemans and tell everybody else the rest aren't for sale again. And again, on the performance of the people in question, you know, considering we've also lost 2 players through injury, Barnes not so bad, Ricardo, again, that's
well,
more.
Terry says there, Brad, you know, no need for Ricardo to be registered if he's out for 6 months. So we don't register him, but it still leaves us 25 in a 25-man squad. So whether we register Ricardo or not, and you can't unregister a player just because he's out for 6 months, you know. Yeah, don't put him in. I mean, he's already in the Premier League squad, I believe. But, well, he's had to be to play today. But, you know, you wouldn't put him necessarily in. We've not got it. So I don't think you can unregister players just because they're injured.
Well, I think you can if you can say without thing that their injury is going to not allow them to play this until January, because January, obviously, the registration period goes in. So if something happens and we decide to unregister him because he's injured, it doesn't matter anyway. You can't pick him, even if registered or not. Even if you kept him registered, you can't pick him anyway. He's injured. But if something happens, and God forbid it does, you know, chucks a bit up there just to make sure. But say he regresses the injury and it becomes worse, and he's not going to be back all season, like Bertrand happened with him. We thought it was a 4-week problem. It turned out to be a season one. Then Leicester would waste a spot. You might as well unregister him and judge it again in January. Is he going to play again? Is he going to stand any chance of playing? If he is, brilliant, register him. You can do that. You take everything into account. Leicester would rather, you know, see if they can get anything for Tillmans, but if not worry about it, because they can still register a player and he wouldn't get the side. You're asking a lot of clubs to do that in this side, because we're not all Man City's, we're not all Barca crooked loners, we're not all, you know, Manchester, you know, polish a turd, still a turd United, because it doesn't matter who's in charge of them, 10 hag, 12 hag, 9 hag, 8 hag, I don't care, still lose. You know, and that's the way it is in football. But Leicester aren't, you know, the owners aren't broke. The club's not going to go into administration next season.
No.
It's just a case of the owners don't want to go and get a £250 million loan and say, Brent, got £250 million to go and armour it. I think the reason the club smartly gave the Madisons, the Fafanas and whatnot 5-6 year contracts and extensions on top of them is for the occasion we had the Tielemans. They kind of let that one slip through the net. We still don't know what the outcome is of it. We still might some money on it, but in terms of where the club's going, you know, we asked this question at the end of the season when we were being asked about players from other clubs, weren't we, Chris? Would any of their starting 11 get into our team? And if the answer's no, then you've got no reason to go out there and purchase them. Apart from the obvious names, which we're never going to be able to afford, so you don't even put realism in that. You know, take realism out. Not saying, oh, De Bruyne obviously getting blasticides or like that. You know what I mean? You're talking who we can get, who we can attract, and are they going to benefit us bringing them in and taking someone out of the squad? And the answer's seemingly no.
Just to say that Aaron Ramsey, free signing for Nice, has scored on his debut. Nice were winning, but they did concede first. So maybe that was a corner that Schmeichel didn't come for. I don't know.
Schmeichel's on the bench, I believe, for their first game.
Oh, was he?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
That
And
joke fell flat.
no,
Brendan Rodgers explains Patson Daka for Kieran Dewsbury Hall substitution in Brentford draw. Brendan Rodgers replaced Kieran Dewsbury Hall with Patson Daka to try to counteract changes made by Brentford boss Thomas Frank. The Leicester City boss made just a single substitution during the 2-2 opening weekend draw, taking off goal scorer Dewsbury Hall and placing Daka up front alongside Jamie Vardy. But it did not help City take back control of the game, and Brentford used their momentum to score a late equaliser. So that's why, in his eyes, and let's be honest with you, I don't know what the attendance was today, but there's probably 32,000 managers sat in that ground. That maybe 31.5 would have done something different.
yeah, but that's what concerns me a little bit, Chris. Why is he insisting that when a team gets the bit between the teeth, why is he insisting on trying to defensive and counter it? Why didn't he keep Leicester attacking? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but unless it was straight out, I don't remember Danny Ward having to make a save till we balls to throwing.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to start treating defensive throwing as a emergency get out of jail launch. I'd rather us launch it 40 yards up the pitch and one of them get ahead on it, put it out for another throw-in or a loose ball, than us throwing it 5 yards and it bounced off someone's chest and leave it to a goal like it did. I'm not saying that's exactly how it played out, but that's pretty much how it came about, wasn't it? And there you go. Couldn't do nothing, Brentford.
I was always told the best form of defence is attack, but there we go. You do look very posh sat there in your in your Chesterfield leather Chesterfield bound chair.
It's all
sugar.
It's all a facade. I've got a Crash Bandicoot shirt on. Oh, it's all a facade.
Oh, that kind of ruins the image now.
I know, but that's why I sit like this, so it just puts it up there.
Well, hey, we're back anyway. Love it or hate it. This is Leicester, like you say. It's going to be a roller coaster ride. Get your headache pills. I think we're going to have a bit of an up and down season. Let's not get too excited over the one result after 69 minutes. We would have been going mad if we'd lost it, but we didn't, and Brendan got it wrong with the substitutes again, but he goes on what he feels it's right, and that's what he gets paid the big bucks for. Leicester till I die. Evening, Richo. How the devil are you? Welcome along. Thanks for joining us. I'll just leave with this one, Brad. Last thing before we go, that I was saying for the last few seasons, like 2 seasons and 3 seasons ago, it was only really ourselves, and then maybe in the second season a little bit of West Ham that were trying to get through that door that said top 6 on it. Just the two of us. Now you've got a rejuvenated Tottenham, a rejuvenated Arsenal. You've got West Ham. You've got other clubs that are doing. There's more clubs all trying to get through that door at the same time, causing a bit of a backlog. And we've got to remember that. I just sometimes think we've got to accept, like you said earlier, we are not Man City.
Yeah, exactly. And again, this is something that I actually echoed back when before we played in it, but it was the season we were in the Champions League. And I said, Leicester didn't just change football, they changed the perspective of how other fans and other clubs will see football, because it was, maybe the 2 horses changed every so often, but it was usually guaranteed the Premiership was a 2-horse race. You could argue it still to a degree like that. There's always a team that sits third, always ends up more than way off. Unless you're Spurs, where you do it on the last day, you do it at style. But we said this maybe looks, if you're a Southampton fan or if you're a West Ham fan or an Everton fan. I know certain teams fans of that team now might recount the blessings are in the Premiership, but still it applies. Even though the horses have changed, the same names apply. These teams need to keep having seasons, because for each 2 or 3 seasons Leicester improve, unfortunately, no matter how much we're blessed for our owners, the Tottenhams, the Arsenals, the Manchester Uniteds, the Liverpools, and the Man Cities are making more money, and they're finding a way to do what we accomplished in 3 seasons, 1 season. Leicester go out and spend 150 million, and they sell, let's say sell Tillemans and Fafana, or whatever next season. Sell Fafana, or whatever. And Leicester go and buy 3 coup players. Man City could sell half their reserve for double that, and go out and spend it, and that's why they buy a Haaland.
Now, I'm not going to do a stats thing at all, and as you know, as you've seen, I've not put the stats up, and I could read them all out, but I mean, the only stat is the 2-2. All I will say is that it wasn't one of those games where I'm going to be moaning because as a Premier League side, we've only got 2 shots on goal. But what we'll do, I do want to read some figures out for you, and it's not 36, 24, 36. In 2014-15 season, we finished 14th. We followed that by finishing first. We then finished 12th. Then we finished 9th. Then we finished 9th again. Then we finished 5th. Then we finished 5th again. And then we finished 8th last season. How many clubs would die to have that Premier League record?
Probably 3/4 of them.
3/4, exactly. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the big 6 won't, but yeah, that is not a bad. This is Leicester, remember. That is not a bad, history to have in the Premier League, is it?
No, it's not. And I think, I didn't want to do this, but I have been asked where do I see Leicester finishing the season, and no matter what happens between now and the end of August, in terms of players in and out, which I'll be honest, unless I don't see anybody else going, Leicester are in that position with their contract length. But anyhow, I digress. I'd have said 7. I'd be happy with 7.
I'm going to ask this of you, just as it's a one-off. As David said, when you put it like that, Chris, it's tough to disagree with you. It is, and we forget that sometimes. We forget how good we really, really are. But I want to after this just ask you for your bottom 3 for the season.
Leicester Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Which 3 have you got going down this season, Brad?
That's tough. Forest, and Forest.
Funny enough, Josh had Forest going down that I did the prediction show with.
I've probably changed this, no doubt, in my head every time.
I'm sure we will. Yeah, of course.
I think you always seem to name like your 5 teams, the same 5 teams that get picked. Might not be in a particular order, but you'll alwaay pick the same 5 teams because it's teams you think have got a chance to get relegated. Southampton, honestly, look like a team that could have a struggle. Like I say, got thumped by top. I think Southampton will go down. Forest, Southampton. And I'm going to say Fulham.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of people have probably wouldn't disagree with you. I have actually gone Leeds, Bournemouth, and Southampton. So it be interesting to see. Leeds obviously threw a spanner in the works by winning today. I know, and I hate myself. You do not know. I said to Josh when we were doing it because he put Forest as I think bottom. I think he did. But as I hate myself for not doing it, but I have got them as sort of 15th, 16th, so they could easily drop into that. Mark Ashton Smith, Man United Football Club. Okay. Who won? I think it was Brighton, wasn't it? If my memory serves me right. Ours was 2-2. Dead Cheddar, good evening, sir. Welcome along. Evening all. 2-0 to 2-2 and shaking my head. Seems like classic Leicester City. It does indeed. To end on a positive, we always like to end on a positive. That's why I used to have battery chickens. Positive. Yeah, never mind. To end on a positive, the opening match has left me more satisfied for the future than last season's first match. Yeah, it did. We played better and got a 2-2 than we played last season and got a 1-0. At least, as I say, looking at that first 45, I know we have got it in us for the rest of the season. Brad, thank you very much, sir.
No worries, buddy.
For coming in. We're back. Premier League is back. You are back. Where can people find you and your channel? And have you got any shows coming up?
Cheers, Chris. First of all, for having us on. Love getting back to the tactics. Yeah, I have got shows coming up from my channel, A Matter of Opinion. It's where you can come and voice your opinion, no matter what you think of it, what it is. No opinion is right or wrong. It's there for you to voice your opinion. It's just topics, weekly topics that are done. I will be doing a show on Thursday about Disney, Pixar, and that sort of general area of movie theories. We're talking theories, fan theories, theories that are discussed online, good and bad theories, the dark ones. It'll be an interesting show. And if you want to find that YouTube channel, you can follow me on Twitter. That's at Fulltime Focus. There's no hyphen and whatnot in it. It's all one word. It's just at Fulltime Focus. You'll follow me on Twitter. Give me a follow there, and the link's in the bio. So yeah, go and check it out and subscribe if you enjoy it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, young man. I will see you. If I don't see you before, I will see you next Saturday for the Arsenal game.
Yeah, and that'll be a joy to the hopefully.
We might just. I might just forget to turn my internet on after the game. We'll see.
I know that day, mate. I know that day.
Take care, buddy. Thanks very much. All the best.
Take care, mate.
Thanks to Brad, and as always, loving his tactics section. Absolutely knows what he's talking about, which is more than I do most of the time, probably all of the time, if I'm honest with you. That's it for the weekend. 2-0 up, looking good. Brilliant first half. Oh dear, Leicester are back. The Premier League is back. It feels like it's never been away now.
The Premier League is back, and we've got it all covered here on Leicester Till I Die TV. Subscribe.
Oh, yeah, it's Arsenal up next. But not next for me. 7 o'clock tomorrow, 7 p.m. That is not in the morning. 7 p.m. We will be doing our Premier League review show. It used to be at 9 o'clock. It's going to 7 o'clock because at 9 o'clock moving forward, we're going to be doing a Women's Super League review show at 9 o'clock. So Monday nights are going to be review nights. 7 o'clock tomorrow, though, John Sinclair, do you remember him? Good old Leicester City reporter. Back in the day, will be joining us with Lou and looking back at all the weekend's games, including this one, of course. Thank to everybody who was kind enough to tune in and watch us on YouTube. Please subscribe to the station if you haven't, as I say, and please be sure to smash the likes. It does help with the old YouTube algorithms. And if you've been listening to this on catch up on your favorite podcast station, thank you so very much again. We really do appreciate it. See you tomorrow night at 7. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Take care. And remember, don't do anything I wouldn't enjoy. Goodbye now.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye, and see you next time.
for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
Cool. I'm out of here. Ooh, that's a wrap.
Some people are on the pitch.